Joining the cast of new Forerunner weapons in Halo Infinite is a gun called the Cindershot, and if the Pulse Carbine was one of the most misunderstood weapons in Halo Infinite, the Cindershot just has players downright confused. And for good reason. And since November 15th, fans of the channel have been asking me one thing: how the f do I use this thing? I'm the Home Slice, Ascend Hyperion, and today we're going to explore the function of the Cindershot. You might be surprised to hear that this weapon actually borrows a cool trick from a weapon in Halo 5, and I'll explain how, for better or for worse, this might be one of the most unique explosive weapons to pass through Halo. Be sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. Let's get this started. So, to start out, I think what has players so confused about the Cindershot is how deceptive its actual function is. If you were to just pick this thing up and use it, you probably are expecting it to be akin to the Ravager or the Brute Shot. Pull the trigger, thingy comes out, thing goes boom. If you try to use the Cindershot this way, you're not bound to be successful, as your projectiles go wildly flinging around. You hope to get a better view by aiming it and firing it, but now the projectile seems to twist and turn through the air like a bat out of hell, again missing targets by a mile. So what gives? Well, let's start by changing your perception of the Cindershot first. It's not like the concussion rifle or the brute shot. The Cindershot is a strange little hybrid of two weapons from Halo 5, the plasma caster and the rocket launcher. But just not any rocket launcher, the Ad Victorium Rec variant. Alright, let's start with discussing the standard fire first. Akin to the plasma caster, when you fire the Cindershot, the projectile will bounce at least one time, so popping blind shots with this thing may not be the best idea. However, the projectile will detonate immediately once striking an opponent, whether it be before or after that first bounce. So if you want to deal all the damage possible to a player, you need to smack him in the chest with this thing. This is the really easy part to understand. It's the switchfire that gets interesting. And you heard that right. Aiming down the sights with the Cindershot is not for an accuracy boost. It's to initiate the alternate firing mode. In this mode, the Cindershot projectile is laser guided, meaning it will quickly adjust trajectory to impact where you are aiming. This is probably why so many people struggle with using this thing, because they are accidentally setting it on wild paths by aiming it. This was a trait of the Ad Victorium rocket launcher from Halo 5, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it live on in Halo through this weapon. Keep in mind, even if you laser guide the projectile, it will still bounce once, unless it strikes an opponent directly. And a projectile initiated in the guided mode can be let go if you stop aiming in, but when you aim back in, you can reassume control of it. Now, this thing moves far and fast, and kind of similar to Halo 5, you can do this drop in, drop out thing with controlling it, but it's already so far away by the time you pick it back up, I don't know what you would use this for really. But hey, maybe in the future we'll have a map that's like, I don't know, 1,000,000 miles wide, and you can you can use it to ping a Banshee. I really don't know. Now that you know how both firing modes work, let's talk about how you should be using this weapon. The Cindershot is a deceptively technical gun. Similar to the Heatwave, when using this weapon, you need to be thinking about if you want to deal direct damage to your opponent or indirect damage. Unlike standard grenade launchers, simply plopping a projectile at someone's feet is not going to always work, because those projectiles will bounce far and fast. An enemy in just a relatively open space could easily escape the splash damage of the Cindershot just by shifting or jumping when challenging you. My immediate advice is to always try to deal direct damage. Always aim for the torso when using this weapon. If you do, 2 measly plops from this thing will drop someone at full health, and greatly wound if not kill surrounding enemies as well. If you're confident using the standard fire for this, feel free to, but I recommend getting really comfortable manipulating the alt fire for the Cindershot. If you're really up close, the alt fire is not that useful, but even at medium to long range, a well-tracked Cindershot really is a formidable challenge to face, especially because explosive weapons are not typically assumed to be agile or reactive. The alt fire also gives the Cindershot a strategic advantage to round corners, enter spaces, and chase moving targets. And all in all, having more direct control on your projectile is going to let you make those small adjustments to prevent an enemy player from getting away, shifting, jumping, or whatever it takes. Being able to hunt them down with the tracked Cindershot projectile is actually kind of cool. Something has to be said for the suppressive quality of this gun too, because projectiles from the Cindershot are literally blinding upon explosion, and leave a visible obstruction of hard light at the impact site. There are a lot of little quirks and gimmicks jammed into this gun, which come together to make one of the most technical weapons since the grenade launcher itself, which I discussed in length in a different video. However, I'd consider the Cindershot the dummies version of the grenade launcher. While the grenade launcher has dedicated utility outside of the damage it deals, the Cindershot really just is about damage. Granted, it cleverly gives you two ways to do it, but it all doesn't amount to too much more than heavy-hitting, half-rocket, half-grenade launcher type fights. It might seem useless now, but in the right hands, especially against a player who is ill-prepared, the Cindershot is a crushingly lethal weapon, and while it seems like players avoid it right now due to their lack of understanding, over time, I expect the Cindershot to become a monster on the battlefield, becoming a hot contender for quick pulls and powerful team plays. At the very least, fans of this channel might become the leaders of the age of the Cindershot now. Don't quote me on that. Like always, let's wrap up today's video with the viewer question. Think about this. The Cindershot is using a mechanic from a Halo 5 rec weapon. What other rec weapon mechanics would have been good fits for Halo Infinite's highly functionally oriented sandbox? That's gonna do it for this video. Be sure you like it if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't, and check out my other videos covering Halo Infinite and the Halo franchise. Follow me on Twitter and join my Discord linked below. Until next time, I'll catch y'all later.